What's up, Planet Caravan? Hey, it's John from Mental Acquisition with part 2 of the Big German 3. Ready to talk to you about Kreator, my second favorite German thrash band of the Big German 3. And again, like I said, this may be repetitive for some of you guys, but I got a little bit of tidbits of information up here from years and years of listening to this stuff that might be something new. So hopefully as we move forward and I dig through the catalog a little bit more, we'll get a little bit more, dig a little deeper, but I kind of want to check the pulse, as they say, to see where we're at. So anyway, Kreator again, the bands all pretty much came out around the same time, 1980, 84. You had Kreator, I think, well, this album, I think, was released in 1985, Endless Pain. This is, the first full-length Kreator is pretty raw, pretty straightforward. Just basic thrash. There's originally, Flag of Hate was originally on here. Lion in Fear is a great song. Bone Breaker, Total Death. It's just basic thrash. Just the basic 3-4 minute long songs. Nothing really technical, nothing really out of the ordinary there. This is the release that came out on Noise Records back in the day. This, if you guys are into collecting it all and you're actually ever thinking about it, these are the reissues that Noise Records just did recently, and they are really cool. They are basically digibooks, actual solid books, and they're not the cardboard. Got a huge booklet of information. Got the CD, and there's a bonus disc in most of them. This one doesn't have a bonus disc, but it has the Blitzkrieg demo and the End of the World demo. So early demos on here. Just really, really cool how they put all that together. They released Flag of Hate, little EP shortly after that. This one's kind of neat. I bought this actually brand new back in the day. The US version was different than... a little bit different because they put the sticker over top of that, but this was kind of a cool. You got got some songs from Endless Pain on there, but you've also got the 3 tracks: Take Their Lives, Flag of Hate, and Awaken the Gods, which all 3 are really great songs, and they kind of started to get the guitar mix in the way you really wanted to hear it. And then shortly after that, they put out my favorite album, Pleasure to Kill, which, again, when we're talking about death metal and influence on death metal, you had the death theme, the artwork, which I just recently got to meet Ventnor, the original drummer, and Milla, the singer, when I saw them earlier this year. Got to meet him, get my picture taken with him, talk to Milla for just a second or two. Really, really cool opportunity. But this was my favorite album from them, still is. It's just really over the top. Choir of the Damned and Ripping Corpse. So you get Choir of the Damned is this nice little instrumental thing, goes right into Ripping Corpse, just rips the flesh right off your face. Just really, really cool stuff. Pleasure to Kill is a great song. Riot of Violence is an awesome, kind of a slower song. Pestilence, just in your face, just super fast. Under the Guillotine. Just so many great tracks on this. If you've never listened to Pleasure to Kill, you need to check that out. This is a cool piece that I got a couple years back. It's called After the Attack, pardon me. It's a picture disc. This is Pleasure to Kill with one bonus track, one added track on it. But it's got the Pleasure to Kill picture on the record itself. Now there's a couple of versions of it I have on CD. This was the original pressing on Noise Records. You see, I bought it a long time ago, used for a whole $9 back in the day. Then they also reissued it together with Flag of Hate on Combat Noise. This was reissued in, looks like, I got this in 1991. So it was a long, long time ago. And again, Noise reissued these, and these are, like I said, it's done well. This includes the Flag of Hate EP as bonus tracks, which is, just like I said, really, really cool packaging. Then they put out 1987, I believe. Terrible Certainty again. I had Milla and Ventnor sign the album art, and This is probably my third favorite album from Kreator. Toxic Trace was the first video I ever saw from Kreator. Great song. But my favorite track on this would probably have to be As the World Burns. I love that. I love Toxic Trace. I love Blind Faith, Storming with Menace, Terrible Certainty. I love a lot of tracks on here as well. This, again, you can't go wrong with this. This is solid Kreator. Great Kreator album if you've never listened to Kreator. And then they also did a little, this is the Behind the Mirror single, back with Gangland, which Gangland was I think it was a cover from a band, and I cannot remember right off the top of my head who the band was. It might have been Tigers of Pantang, but I'm not sure. But that was later released on Out of the Dark Into the Light. But here is Terrible Certainty on CD. Again, the original pressing that was on Noise. And again, the awesome thing. And this one has a bonus disc that includes Out of the Dark Into the Light with extra tracks that weren't on the original CD, which is right here. This one had live tracks on one side and studio tracks on the other side. Had a brand new song called Impossible Cure, which is one of my favorite tracks. Milla's vocals during this time were just ballsy, super shrill. He was one of those songs where he just belts, just scream. Different than Tom Araya from Slayer, who had this really high pitched. His was just it's more like a At the Gates style scream. But then they do a Raven cover of Lambs to the Slaughter, and then Gangland, which, like I said, I think it's Tigers of Pantang, but don't quote me. And the other side has got 3 live tracks. Then I remember a buddy of mine calling me and saying there's a new Kreator tape down at local record store, and it's on Epic Records. I'm like, what are you talking about? Epic is, for those of you who don't know, a major label in the United States. Major label. And I'm like, what? Kreator's on a major label? Sure as shit, they were. Kreator, Extreme Aggression. This is my second favorite album of all time. You can see right here, Epic Records. During this time, major labels were starting to buy up some metal stuff that was kind of in the underground, and labels do that for 2 reasons. One, because they're trying to cash in on that, but 2, they're trying to stifle the underground. In my opinion, what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep that underground from really growing, because the more the underground grows, the more money goes into the pocket of the artist, and the less the money goes into the pocket of the corporate America, corporate businesses, corporate labels, and all that. So by them buying out the contracts or signing these bands to contracts, they get more of the money. Which in most cases, the bands don't stay on the label very long. And sometimes, like in the case of Carcass, it really kind of crushes the band for quite a few years. And we'll get to Kreator, but I think that may have had something to do with their demise for a bit. But this is, again, I couldn't name you one track that is terrible. The whole album, front to back, is great. Second favorite album of all time. And again, great reissue done on Noise Records. And there's a bonus disc that's live in East Berlin, where it was their live show. Then they put out, 1990, also on Epic Records, Coma of Souls. This was the very first time I saw Kreator in 1990, and this is the original ticket stub. This was one of the very first concerts that I ever went to, and it was remarkable being able to see these guys, see them play live, and hear them play all the favorite songs that I loved. Because in 1990 there wasn't a lot of music to choose from, so it was cool to see them play that stuff live. And again, this is probably my 4th favorite album. Again, great stuff. Coma Souls, People to Lie, totally great song, especially for this day and age. Anti-racism, anti-hatred song, really great stuff. Mental Slavery is the sleeper on this album. That song is killer. The riffs are killer. If you've never listened to the song Mental Slavery, go to YouTube, check out Kreator, Mental Slavery. Great track. Then I bought this album, Renewal. What I've read later is that Milla's voice was starting to go, so he decided he wanted to change up his vocal style a little. The music, the songs are longer. They are different in the way they're played. And he sings almost like kind of hardcore. It kind of almost goes into a hardcore feel. I've learned to love this album, but it is definitely the start of a journey that led them down a different path, kind of similar to Destruction. But they kept a lot of the same members. Vintner and Miller were in it pretty much the whole time. Frank Godstick or whatever. He was a Blackfire, Frank Blackfire actually. He was in Sodom prior to Kreator. So they put out Cause for Conflict. Again, these were short songs. They were like 1.5, 2-minute long songs. A lot more in the vein of like punk. And they added Joe Cagliosi, the drummer for Whiplash on albums like Insult to Injury. He was the drummer for them for a while when Ventnor left. This is a Scenarios of Violence. This is kind of like a European best of. They put out Outcast, which Outcast started to slow down a little bit. This was around, like I said, around the time, again, the grunge thing was going really huge and everything. And so the songs were a lot slower, a lot more intricacy going on in the music. Same holds true with this one here, Indorama. I don't really listen to a lot of these, but there's some good tracks on it. They did a little single, Chosen Few, but it's definitely not the thrash that you expect. Well, then 2001 rolls around, and it's probably equates to right around the time that Destruction got back together, the original lineup, at least Schmieren and Mike together. They just got this fire lit under them, and they put out Violent Revolution. This was the return to form. Again, great album. This is back to Kreator, how they sounded, how they needed to sound, and from there, Enemy of God, another great album. Hordes of Chaos, More of the Same, Phantom Antichrist, more of the same. I did get to see them on, I believe it was on this tour. I got to see them in Destruction together. And the venue that I saw them in, there was 25 to 30 people total at that show. And so I got to stand right at the front of the stage and watch both bands, Destruction and Kreator, play with no mosh pit, no nothing. So for the bands, it was terrible. For me, it was like awesome because there's nobody pushing me. We just stood there and watched the bands play. I stood right in front of Milla, almost right in my face, and watched him play all these songs. It was cool. Then I got to see him play with Vader. I believe it was on this tour, Enemy of God. And again, and at that time there were way more people there, and it was really cool. Those of you that have not heard it, this is the new album, Gods of Violence, that came out this year. And somebody was asking me about new releases from thrash bands, classic thrash bands. This is one that if you want to buy an album this year, I would recommend it. This sound, there are riffings in here that kind of go back to kind of the style that they had with in Coma Souls. It's old Kreator. It's touched with new Kreator. The first 5, 6, 7 songs, I was checking the titles. It just really, really grabbed me. And their limited one has a Live at Wacken DVD as well. Then lastly, there's This Terror Prevails. There's a second one. This was in a magazine. I got the first one. I don't have the second one. And then there's also a live creation. This was on DVD as well. I've got the DVD, but this is the audio version of it. This is a 3 LP set, live creation, which was cool. I found it used somewhere. So that is Kreator. Again, my second favorite band. And so again, I may be repeating myself. I may be, barking up the, as we say in America, barking up the wrong tree. Maybe stuff that you guys are well versed with. But I thought by going through each release and kind of talking about it a little bit in a short amount of time, it at least gives you an idea of the releases. Those are a complete list of the full-length releases. There's obviously always going to be splits and EPs and things like that. Mostly EPs are in there. Mostly the splits and singles and things like that, and always collect. So anyway, again, as I always say, until next time, stay metal.